gentlemen, Munciana Courtside, Show 6, Season 6. Mike Lingenfelter, Randy Nostradamus Gardner.
I like.
He is Nostradamus after the last 2 weeks of perfect predictions. Without further ado, let's get this show going.
All right. Lots of highlights from last week. Monday night, I was going to run down literally the entire week.
You can do whatever you want to do after the last couple of weeks.
All sweeps during the week. So Monday night, you had Carmel swept Westfield.
Carmel's getting better.
They are. HSC sweeps Pendleton Heights. Jason thought it was convincingly.
Well, Blair Barksdale's little Pendleton Heights group is, like I said, they're getting back to the heyday of Pendleton Heights volleyball, but they're still on the way up. You got some growth to do, but a much better team. Good win for HSC.
Yep. Tuesday night, we had Newcastle sweeps Yorktown.
Unbelievable. Sweep in that game. You know,
I call it 4.
Yeah, that's about the only thing you missed in the last 2 weeks. You know, that's too much net play. You know, and Yorktown really, if they can't keep you off the net, they're going to have a little bit of trouble with you. And that Newcastle team was motivated. It'll be interesting to see where the motivation goes now. You know, does that make Newcastle a better team? And are they motivated just to finish this thing off? Or, you know, I think that an injured animal is the most dangerous animal in Yorktown right now. I'm telling you, I'm not counting those cats out. And a lot of people have already had them, already deemed them the favorites for that sectional based on this loss. And we'll see. But, you know, I said early on, Yorktown's the best team in the state until they're the champions until beaten. Well, Newcastle will beat them, so gives you a little foreshadowing for the top 10.
Yep. Then we talked about Thursday night. We knew it was going to be some bloodshed. Yorktown sweeps Muncie Burris.
Convincing fashion. 2 of the 3 sets, they didn't get double digits. You know, that's what I'm telling you. That Yorktown team is dangerous. Once they get a little bit more motivated, which is what just happened with Newcastle. I said earlier it would be a barometer for Burris. Burris got a way to go. They got a ways to go to get where they, you know, where they've been or where they want to go. This Yorktown team just way too much firepower for a Burris squad.
Yep, we're afraid of the sleeping in the tall grass.
Trap game?
But Newcastle swept Mount Vernon.
Yeah, I thought it was a trap game. I thought that Newcastle could go to sleep at the wheel, but they did not. They sweep out Mount Vernon. And, you know, Team Beaumont, not enough right now. But I think that, just like I said earlier, motivation, a barometer, gut check, whatever it is you want at this time of year, that's all these matches mean.
Correct.
You know, I say it a million times, it's all exhibition season until sectional time. So learn from each one. You know, you want to grow through every experience. You don't want to go through experiences, and I think that's all that is. Yep. You know, Mount Vernon is a growing opportunity, and they now know what they've got to do to beat a Newcastle team down the line. So yep. That's not a surprise.
Concordia swept Fort Wayne Blackhawk Christian, which we thought probably would happen. I mean, Blackhawk being a smaller school, but
that's understandable.
Yep. And then Saturday we had some interesting ones. You know, like we talked about when it comes to Selection Sunday, that would be the key wins and key losses of your season, and Heritage Christian sweeps HSC.
I said at the start of the season, Heritage Christian was a team that I thought could win a state championship. You know, for a small school, they've got some dangerous elements. They're well set, Snyder. Colvin is a matchup nightmare.
Correct.
And really is going to be tough to stop. In the middle of the court, they're very, very good. Colvin, Wallace, I mean, they're good.
Yep.
They're good in the middle of the court, and that's unusual for a small school. And so Heritage Christian takes care of the ball, and evidently they were on all cylinders. I mean, they beat HSE. Now, keep in mind, HSE missing one of their 2 setters. But, you know, HSE's, that's a tough loss for them. That is a really tough loss for Hamilton Southeastern. The second set was 25-17. I mean, so Heritage Christian's a real deal. And like I said early on, I thought these guys had a shot at winning a state championship. They've got to be motivated now.
Yep.
And like I said, too, I mean, at this time of year, all of these games either are going to fail you or fuel you. They either fail you or fuel you. Either you look at it and you just get demoralized and fail, or you just get fueled by some of the results. And it'll be interesting to see which way all these teams go.
Yep. We talked about a big weekend up at Team Indiana. We had Newcastle swept McCutcheon. We had Providence beat Dwenger in 4.
Mm-hmm.
And then what happened for the third place match? McCutcheon beats Dwenger in 4. And the Castle finishes up the perfect week, sweeping Providence.
Yeah, that's a heck of a week, man. That's a huge week. That's as good a week as you could humanly have in high school volleyball, what Newcastle just did in all sweeps. Providence, the folks at Newcastle came away with a lot of respect for Providence. Said that they had them. Providence jumped on them 6-0.
Yeah.
Providence is always a team of great emotion, great energy, and from everything the Newcastle folks say, great ability.
Yep.
This is a good team. So Newcastle getting out of there with a sweep is huge, but it could be foreshadowing once again for the state championships. Or as we moved into the state championship series, those two teams may bounce into each other at some point.
Yep. Lazy Boy games of the week. Just got a few on here. Really, not as deep of a week compared to usual.
Well,
Usually we're talking 3, 4, 5 good matchups every single night.
Yeah.
And this week, I mean, a little less. But Tuesday night we got Brownsburg heading to McCutcheon. Brownsburg has some pretty good wins on the year. Have put some people in some tough situations, taking some sets off good teams. So
Brownsburg had a really good showing this summer at Purdue's camp, and Johnny Shondell had them as a dark horse. And I think that they still have that ability.
Yep.
They're always historically a solid program. McCutcheon, awful athletic, and some really gifted athletes. McCutcheon, we'll talk about them in a minute, but McCutcheon, I think, is still a threat here. And they're very, very good. Yeah, they got swept by a really good Newcastle team and a really hot Newcastle team. Keep that in mind. I mean, things were going their way. McCutcheon's awfully good. I like McCutcheon in that game.
So do I. Get out the brooms. Thursday night, little Zionsville.
You're taking everything one step further these days. I kind of like it.
Versus HSC.
Zionsville HSC. Richie Coleman battling Jason Young. Wow. That should be a very good matchup. Those two teams, it really is going to be interesting to see how HSE rebounds. If they're still licking their wounds, they'll have Phillips back and whatnot, but that could be a good match.
Could be.
That could be a really good matchup. I tend to go with HSE in that one.
The thing is about Zionsville, that could be an interesting match because Zionsville played McCutcheon to start the year in the first game of the year. Lost in 5.
Yep.
Lost to a Fishers team when they were still kind of feeling good about themselves. Lost in 5. And I think they are 3 or 4 losses on the year, so not a lot. So since then, they've kind of rebounded and got it going in the right ship. But Phillips is back in the lineup. I'm giving the nod to the big fella.
Okay.
Jason Young, career wins it. I'm not saying a sweep.
Okay.
Saturday, we got 2 good tournaments going on. We'll talk about the little guys first. You got the Class A Showdown. Pool A, you got Cowan, you got Blue River, you got Central Christian, and then you got Indianapolis Lutheran. And then in Pool B, you got LCC, Springs Valley, West Dell, and Morristown.
Several teams in that grouping have been in the state championships in the last 5 or 6 years. Class A Showdown I really like. There's certain events that just kind of send me into flashback mode. One time Wapahani was in the Class A Showdown. It was, it's just a lot of fun. I like the little school volleyball. Usually it's the lack of a big middle or something that's missing there.
Of course.
It's got high energy, very well coached. I mean, just great coaching. That's always been a great event. I think that it'll be interesting to see who comes out of that. I tend to look at Pool A being between Cowan and Indy Lutheran. I look at Pool B being kind of a showdown between LCC and Springs Valley. I think those are maybe your final 4 teams. I don't venture to. I don't know enough to make a call on that. I know that if you go against, I would love to hear you go off on one of these psycho tirades you've gone off in the last couple of weeks. I would like to see you call for Cowan to be swept in 3 by someone. Randy's wife, it'd be swept in 2. Randy's wife coaches at Cowan, has been really upset because she's not getting a whole lot of love on the show. What's your prediction for that tournament, big fella?
Well, Pool A, I agree with you. Your first and second place is going to come down to Cowan and Indianapolis.
Who wins that game?
Cowan will be in the finals.
Okay.
It's funny you talked about that. You talked about some teams that they're missing middles. what Callan's got is really good pins. We talked about that
Yes.
with the foreign exchange student, and then with Conway and Harrington on the pins, but they don't have really good depth in the middle of the court. Indianapolis Lutheran, you know they're going to be good.
Always good.
Yes.
Always good. What about Pool B?
Pool B, Springs Valley is a little under the radar.
Good
They're a
program.
top 5 team.
Good program.
They're not bad. But I think LCC just has too much history. And like you talked about back in the 90s and 2000s, Muncie Burris on your shirt, they usually are up 5-0 to start the game.
LCC's dominated the 1A.
So
Okay, who wins?
LCC and Cowan in the finals. I don't really
Get the
make
brooms
a call
out?
on that. No brooms. No
I
brooms.
need a call. You absolutely ambushed the HSE guys. You harassed Yorktown. You all but threatened.
I don't know anything about LCC.
You threatened
though.
Burris. Make a call. Your streak is on the line. Make a call right now. You're perfect.
Upset City.
Cowan with the upset.
They win the Class A showdown.
Cowan you heard it here first, folks. Cowan, led by Melissa Paul Gardner, will take down LCC in a championship match. At what point wow. All right, we're going to come back and talk about that. That's interesting. Interesting.
Yep.
Go ahead, Cathedral Invite.
Cathedral Invite pool, or the blue pool.
Okay.
I like how they go to the school colors. They're just Pool A and Pool B.
I like it.
Newcastle, Perry Meridian, Columbus East, Cathedral.
Who wins that pool?
The Castle.
The Castle. Okay.
The
okay.
Castle
All right.
runs through everybody.
Green pool.
Green Pool, you got Penn, you got Center Grove, you got Avon, you got New Albany.
Who wins that pool?
MJ Hamill coming through.
MJ Hamill's coming back. MJ Hamill, this will be the end of her appendectomy break.
The dark horse, Penn.
All right, well, Penn, this is an important tournament for. We talked about this earlier today.
Are
Penn,
they the real deal up north?
yeah, and this will go a long ways to securing that. You know, are they better than LaPorte? Are they better than Crown Point? This is a big event for Penn. If Penn could get through that and get a chance to see Newcastle in the finals,
They could
possibly.
they could be a finalist in the state finals.
Yes, and so it's a big event for them. You got Newcastle, Center Grove. Who wins that?
The Castle.
Is that a sweep again? Is that
Castle.
your new motion?
Get out the brooms.
Wax on, wax off. All right, Newcastle with the win there. Let's go.
Mermaid Pools, top players. 5 more commits.
Yeah, it's amazing. Each week we go through all these commits. It's amazing the number of kids that are playing. And we're missing. If we miss somebody, send it in to us. I'd really like to get these kids some attention because there's a lot of great players.
All seniors this week.
All seniors. We start off with Zoe Conway, the libero out of Newcastle, a Ball State commit. Very steady player, a very heady player. A kid that I could really see as a coach in the future. She's got a kind of a coach's mentality. Has been the anchor for that team for a couple years. Just really the steadiest of the players in that group. That group has got a lot of flamboyant, really explosive players. Zoe Conway goes under the radar a little bit because she's just not as flamboyant, but she is super steady.
Yeah, and nothing you always like about her, from over the years just watching her, she tends to be that guy that kind of gets the team in the right source to get them ready for the matches. She's got a good leadership quality to her that's kind of quiet, though. She isn't the over the top, but she does lead the troops quietly.
That's why I think she could be a good coach.
100%. All right.
Emily Schumann, Belmont,
Outside.
big banger. A good athlete.
It's a good gift.
Long, strong, multi-sport kid, but she's a very physical kid, a very silent killer type kid, very quiet, but just gets it done. But a great, great athlete, great kid, heading to Evansville.
That's a good gift for those guys.
That's a great gift for them, and she's kind of underrated. You know, I said off the radar for Zoe Conway. Emily's the same way, but she's going to have a great college career.
Yep.
Delaney Hogan, not off the radar.
No.
Watching film on her a couple weeks ago, the senior out of
Good
Dwenger.
slider.
He hits the slide as well as anybody in the state of Indiana. Maybe the best slider in the state of Indiana. She flies. Heading to Xavier, it's a great pickup for Xavier.
Yep.
You know, this kid, I think, has got an incredible upside.
Correct.
And I think she's going to be a great college player. Physical, long, great first step, which is critical for middles. She's one of the reasons that Dwenger and Tim Hauser's group continue to do nice things.
Yep.
This kid is a real deal. But Delaney Hogan, going to be a great college player. Next will be Anna Murphy. HSE will get a chance to see her.
She could be an X factor in that game.
She is an X factor, a senior out of Zionsville, very gifted player, heading to Boston College, also a senior. She's a kid that she is a game changer, and if HSE doesn't wake up or doesn't get out of their morning state that they're in after the loss this weekend, Anna Murphy could really be a dagger for them. This kid can play. She would be my concern if I'm Jason Young.
I would agree.
And then last but not least, out of Bishop Luer's Wright State commit, senior Taylor Bransfield. You know, the Wright State team is really starting to put something together. Came in this weekend to Ball State. Did some nice things. Had a good tournament. The program's going in the right direction. And Taylor Bransfield's going to help them keep going in the right direction. And once again, another one of those kids where I look and I think that it's going to have an even bigger impact at the next level than they've had at this level. And she's a very gifted player.
We played her a couple years ago at our Power League in 16s, and she was on Will's team, and he was coaching the 16s. And nice little jump server, attacked well the back row. She was, like you talked about, she's one of those kids that kind of had the 1990s kind of volleyball game. Could do a little bit of everything. She sat a little bit in that game because the setter got her. I mean, she did everything they needed.
That's what those dudes at Empower do. Will is the beach guru, and so those guys all have that game that correlates to the beach game as well. And Bransfield is kind of a beachy kid. She's just a shoddy kid, and she's a gifted volleyball player. But Wright State commit, going to have a great career there as well.
Yep. All right, Courtside's buying or selling. We haven't brought this out this year. We thought we would. Got 3 of them today.
I probably deserve this after putting you on the spot.
Yeah. Buying or selling, HSE a lock for the North and 4A?
Selling. In fact, I'm very far from buying right now. Not because of HSE. There's guys that can play. You know, early in the season, everybody had it with HSE and Fishers. Whoever won that, you know, marks their trail to the state championship. I don't think that's fair to the rest of the guys in the North. You know, the North Penn has been to the state championships. Crown Point has been to the state championship. These teams know what they're doing.
Correct.
But I'll tell you, the team that I would be really concerned with is McCutcheon.
Correct.
You know, HSE, you know, if they get past a Fishers team, you know, this isn't Mudsock. This is the end of the season. You know, last year the season was ended by Fishers. And so I'd like to think that HSE has got a shot, and I like that team an awful lot. Lock, furthest thing from it. I like McCutcheon as a potential roadblock. I think that HSE's got to, just like I said with Newcastle, has got to sharpen their focus. Just like I said with Yorktown, find reason to be motivated. I'd be very aware of what lies ahead. A kind of a wounded Fishers team is always dangerous. It's a rivalry game, and McCutcheon's waiting in the darkness for you. And I tell you, they're an awful good team.
You know, I was ready to possibly buy with knowing where Fishers is at right now, trying to figure out who's setting and everything else. But you know, it's one of those things. I almost said I was going to buy, but Carmel's in that section, Westfield's in that section. And then you got people ahead of them, like you talked about McCutcheon. At this point, I got to sell. Not that I won't rebuy later on down the stock market, but right now, you're hearing Tim Kuzma. Yep. Sell.
Tim Kuzma.
Nice. All right, it's a little buying or selling. Newcastle finished the season with 1 loss.
Regular season?
The season.
So those folks that aren't really paying attention, he's asking me, does Newcastle run the table and win the state championship? The biggest threat to Newcastle, in my mind, left is Yorktown. I think regular season, I'm almost 100% sure they finished with 1 loss. I like where they're at. You know, the 1 loss thing is dangerous because of injuries and all the other things that can happen.
A sneaky way to throw it out there.
Yeah, I know. Wow. Buy or sell. Man, I'm worried about that. For those guys, I'd be worried about Yorktown. I'm going to say I'm buying. I take Newcastle to end it with 1 loss. I think they've righted the ships. I hope that they use things as the proper motivation moving forward. I've got faith that those guys are kind of locked and loaded in what's important. Even though Yorktown, man, I just don't like betting against those cats. They're dangerous. But I'm going to go, yes, I'll buy.
Buy 'em.
Okay, all right.
Get it out. Write it down. Mark it up. Class A Showdown winner. State Finals favorite.
Oh, I don't even know.
Would you
if
like
we
me to start it off?
Well, yeah, you already did, but go ahead.
I'm selling. I'm selling because here's the thing. The person I am really worried about is LCC. LCC. I'm always worried about LCC. But you got Lagodi in the South, which is really good. And there's one person that a lot of people don't even think about right now. I do. Pioneer.
Rod Nice.
And the three people what I would tell you this, the favorite could easily be in that LCC regional, because that's going to be LCC, most likely a Cowan squad, and most likely a Pioneer.
I will tell you this.
So those three are going to come out of that same regional. Most likely you're going to be your North team.
That's as good a regional as there is in the state.
Correct.
That's going to be really good. Rod Nice is a gifted coach, and that Pioneer team has been to the state championships. LCC are the new Michigan City Marquette from the old days. Cowan has been there, and I know that your wife's in that. You just pretty much said she's not winning the state championship. Happy. Good luck with dinner tonight.
Just saying selling.
Okay. All right. I'm also selling. The Class
There's a lot of good play.
The Class A Showdown is a great event. The Class A Showdown winner. I just think that there's too many other teams out there.
Correct. That's why I'm going to sell.
Pioneer, and the team that I would keep an eye on constant is Lagodi.
They're
historically been there, but they don't play the same competition as some of these other schools do. But I still like those guys.
There's one more in the South that I totally just had a lapse there.
Hauser?
Trinity Lutheran.
Trinity Lutheran's been there.
They have the hardest schedule in 1A based on max
Yeah,
press.
1A
got
could be
5
fun.
losses, but it's like Jasper, it's Castle. I mean, they've lost to a lot of 4A schools.
Big schools. No, I don't think that you can buy just yet on the winner of that tournament. It'll go a long ways to dictate who's the favorite coming out, but I don't know if you can sell. I sell this.
Similar to the HSE, you can't buy it because you're not 100% sold that that person's going to win it. So, just wanted to get a little fan right there.
I just wanted to wreak havoc in your house. That's all I wanted.
Gear Munciana season rankings. Got some honorable mentions. Really some good teams putting this stuff together. Like you just talked about, a lot of good teams in all the class systems with 1 or 2 losses.
Yeah,
you can name 15, 20 scores.
Oh yeah, 3 of these honorable mentions are historic programs. Bar Reeve we talk about every week, and I love Bar Reeve. But 19-1, Lagodi 15-1 has always been a power in the South. Penn 14-2 has always been a power in the North, and then the other on there still is Angola.
Only loss is Concordia.
Only lost Concordia. We put them in honorable mention. I think that we put them in the top 10 that week, and they get picked off. So
Working their way back up.
We're going to keep Loa and the gang out for a little bit just to not jinx them anymore. But those 4 teams are really, really good. And like I said, 3 of those are huge history squads and legacy teams. And then Angola's making history. So I'm good. I'm good.
All right, getting to the top 10 after we got all our coaches together and media polls and everything else. Still got a tie.
Yeah, Wapahani at 13-1. Wapahani is dangerous as the season goes on. The more the season goes on, the more seasoned those young kids get. You know, Chloe Cook, young, all these they get just young bodies all over the place. But the Wapahani team, keep in mind, these guys know success. They're a couple years removed from back-to-back state championships. It's a school that's won 5 state championships, and you got to give them some respect. Do I think that are they a traditional top 10 multi-class school? Probably not. They're definitely in the hunt for their class championship, though. And right now, 13-1, I'll give them some love. Their schedule still a little bit soft, and that would be my only concern. So I kept them they're at 10, tied at 10.
Yep.
The tie, Hamilton Southeastern. Regardless who's missing, that's a tough loss for them. For those guys to come in and get picked off, that's you got to be paying attention every day. You know, if you're a big school in this state right now, one of those top 5 programs, every single day you got a bullseye on your backside, and you got to come ready to play. If you don't, there are people that can go. I've been talking about Heritage Christian all year long, so I'm not surprised.
Yep.
The thing is, you know, you have got to come ready to play, whether you're the quote-unquote better team or lesser team, whoever shows up. You know, an effort is controllable, and that people got to come ready to do their job. And right now, HSE drops to a record low, 10. It's probably as low as they've been in our poll in 6 years.
We did drop them out that one year. They had a run, they had a span where they lost 3 or 4. And
Yeah.
I think at one point we said we got to keep an eye out for Big Jason.
It's an incredibly talented HSE team that's just got to figure out. And once again, you either fail or you fuel. And this Heritage Christian loss could really fuel them.
Yeah. Or just use it and put it on your bulletin board for us.
Yeah. You know what else could fuel them?
Number 9.
Heritage Christian. Heritage Christian, number 9. Welcome to the big time.
16-1.
16-1. Snyder, Colvin. These guys are rolling, man. Snyder, Colvin. Maybe the best small school middles in the state. Very good setter. Little Snyder can dish it. This is a good team. If they can pass the ball, this group has really got it all going on. 16-1, they play a pretty good schedule. They played some guys. Mm-hmm. You know, and that victory over a big and talented HSE team is huge. Number 9, Heritage Christian.
You know, it'll be a fun game, too, as I'm excited. If they can keep it going and Bar Reeve can keep it going, we could be talking about 2 1-loss teams, possibly 2 loss teams, talking state finals for 2A, which would be a great 2A match because we haven't seen one since probably you and Providence were bumping heads.
That was fun.
Number 8.
Evansville Memorial didn't lose, beat Evansville Mater Dei and beat North. All they're doing is winning, and it's hard to move guys out. You know, some people go, well, Memorial hasn't. It doesn't matter what they haven't done. The big thing is they continue to win. It's what they're doing. Lost early in the season, and now all of a sudden they're just rolling up and wins. Good little team, and South is going to need. That'll be interesting to see what comes out of there.
Yep, I mean, you get
I like that team.
At 3A South, it's going to be those guys buff some of those good guys.
Yeah, and they got a shot.
True. All right, number 7.
Castleman in the game.
Put together a good year.
Yeah, 18-3. You know, they're weak. Northrop, Wayne, South Adams, Southern Wells. Not competition. As Jason Young would put it, mid-major competition.
But you beat Leo last week.
And Leo, that carries weight with me.
Leo's now 14-4 on the year.
And Leo is
after they were 4-4.
Leo's a team that can be back in this top 10 next week.
They're getting close.
Next week. The Heritage right now holds that 7 spot. Whether they can hold it when they get back into the Summit City and start banging heads with some of the big dogs up there, I don't know. I don't know how much weight Castleman can carry.
She better be Russell Westbrook, man.
well, I like what they're doing. I got them at 7.
Yep. All right, number 6.
Dwinger. I like Dwinger. I've liked Dwinger all year long. Mm-hmm. The only loss, they lost to Providence and McCutcheon this week.
Both in 4, though.
In 4, and 2 really good teams. And last week, if we had to name, you know, certain weeks a rivalry week or whatnot, last week was barometer week. Where do we stand? Yorktown knows they got to get a little bit better. Newcastle knows they've got to keep running or somebody's going to catch their butt. HSE knows they can't look past somebody. We got a lot of work to do. Dwinger knows now that they're a set away from catching Providence and McCutcheon. And those are 2 big catches because everybody's talking. Both of those teams could win it all. And the Newcastle folks, I'm telling you, came away singing the praises of Providence. There are people that are saying that Providence could knock down Yorktown. So whoever gets out of that Yorktown-Newcastle sectional, there's nothing easy.
Yep.
And his Providence and McCutcheon teams are both good. Those are the only 2 losses. They beat Lures, Noble, and Northside. I keep Dwinger right there at 12-4, 6.
Yep. What would be interesting about that, too, like you're talking about, if they win that 4th set, they send it to 5. You always talk about, I agree with you, the underdogs tend to be the guys that have the guts.
Yeah, because they're not supposed to be there.
No.
You know, Dwinger in set 5.
So you're 25 points away from a big win.
Yeah, they're right there. They close out 4 or 5. They're the favorites.
Yep. All right, top 5.
Center Grove is my 5. And I will tell you what, Chris Dew, my hat's off. My hat is off.
Only 1 loss without MJ.
Yeah, it's amazing. MJ Hamill, arguably one of the best 2 setters in the state of Indiana. She goes out with an appendectomy, and all these guys do is roll through a pretty steady schedule and only lose once. Hamill comes back sometime this week. Now, she won't be 100%, obviously. But more importantly, you get to move Eck back to the Bro, where she is a game changer. Kudos to Eck for holding that thing up. Bogus and Brown, those guys, what a great week. I mean, a great about a month that they weathered without. And I think that's going to be a big deal come tournament time. They had to really switch some things up. And all that happened for Dewey, loses one, and he gains a ton of depth because a lot of guys had to do things they're not comfortable doing. Cinegrove is my 5.
Yep, unbelievable. Number 4.
McCutcheon loses to Newcastle. They beat Western Boone, they beat Harrison, they beat a good Dwinger team. They lose to Newcastle in straight sets. A little bit of that early in the season, and that for them a barometer. You got to figure out how much you can be intimidated by the Shaftmasters. 2 big physical players, and Melanie Shaftmaster is a matchup nightmare. You will not see a player like that or practice against a player like that all year long. So the first time you see him, you're a little bit kind of taken aback. It'll be interesting to see if this McCutcheon team learns from that loss and what they did learn. I've said it a million times in this show. You either fail or you fuel at this time of year. It'll be interesting to see which way McCutcheon goes, but they're my number 4.
Yeah, and Coach Roush talking about those guys. She was really impressed by the middles. I mean, we've talked a lot about
Pins.
The left sides and the Bro, but she said when they were passing well, she said we really struggled with their middles of the court. So good thing to see because I didn't see those guys early in the year as much in the middle of the court. I thought they were really good on the pins, so it's interesting to see they've kind of progressed there.
Everybody in the state can beat you if they pass the ball. There's really the last 6 teams that I'm going to mention. They could all beat you if they pass the ball.
Yeah.
So I guess the one word for the wise is work on passing. Pass. When people pass, they tend to win. When you win the first ball contact game, serve, pass, you win. And I think as we go down the stretch, I think that's where all these guys have got to focus. McCutcheon is dangerous if they can pass because they can use the middles and dominate you with great athletes on the pin. I think that's why they're in the hunt.
Yep. All right, number 3.
Providence. That's the first blood that's been drawn for Providence. They've been beating up people all year long. They beat Floyd Central. They beat Dwinger, lose to Newcastle. I'm telling you, it was one of those matches, we're talking to the Newcastle guys, when it's over, you just pack your bags and leave because you want the game to be over.
Yep.
Get on the bus before somebody asks you to come back and play. These guys, they've got a couple of kids that can flat out get after. We talk all year long about Hornet, but they've got 3 or 4 kids that can hurt you. The Newcastle coaching staff talked as much or more about Providence as they did Yorktown. And, there are people that are quietly whispering across the state that the Providence team is capable of winning it all. It'll be interesting to see what Terry Perica learned from that match. She's the consummate student. She will, just like Steph Bloom, they will look at that tape a lot. Because to be honest, Bloom's season now comes down to one match.
Mm-hmm. That's all she cared about.
Yeah, she can lock and load on Yorktown from here on. She could run a scouting report for Yorktown over the next 8 matches and be good. Just prepare for Yorktown. Everything you do, prepare for Yorktown. Providence is very similar. Very similar in the sense that Perica will break down film until the cows come home. And that Providence team is capable of beating Newcastle if they lock and load. The lesser team is always dangerous if they care more. And right now, everybody's the lesser team behind Newcastle because they're on top of the perch. But, a controllable is effort, a controllable is passion, a controllable is how badly you want to get better. I can tell you right now, Perica's team will get better because Perica will not tolerate anything but improvement.
Correct.
So they're my number 3.
Yep. All right, number 2.
Same. Yorktown. Yorktown is dangerous. When you hit me.
Not the same, though.
It is.
They dropped one.
No, the same as I felt about Perica.
Gotcha.
Hungry. If you think right now that either one of those 2 teams are sitting back pouting, those coaches go in different directions. You saw Yorktown loses a bitter loss to Newcastle and comes out and bludgeons a solid Burris team.
Yep.
Just beats them down. Bloom is motivated as if she needed motivation. She wakes up motivated. This Yorktown team, that's the only thing I hesitate on buy and sell. You kind of put me in a tough spot there. I'll remember that. This Yorktown team is super dangerous. More dangerous now than they were last week.
Yep.
Last week when we did the show, all they've done was win. Now they've lost. And I will tell you, I've been saying fail fuel all week. They will be fueled. I would bet the house on the fact that Yorktown is going to be more motivated than ever as this season comes to a draw. And so Yorktown's my number 2, the most frightening number 2 in the state.
Correct.
Maybe the most frightening number 2 we've ever had.
It's gonna be fun because we know October. Just figuring out what night on that sectional night it's gonna be. Yorktown back at Newcastle for the sectional title. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
It is what it is. Number 1.
Newcastle. And those guys got to make sure they're not full. What a week. Beat Yorktown, Mount Vernon, McCutcheon, Providence, all straights. It can go one of 2 ways. You can sit back and put on your sunglasses and sign autographs, or you can sit there and roll up your sleeves and realize that means nothing. All 4 of those wins, ginormous wins, mean absolutely nothing. Because when it comes down to October, whoever wins their last match is the best team in the state. Not whoever won the match in August or September.
Correct.
Championships aren't won then. And so it's going to be interesting. The biggest task for Coach Roush and the gang is how to continue to motivate a team that is really peaking. And you got to keep them driving upward. They cannot slow down. If they slow down, I will promise you, Yorktown will run them down. Providence could run them down. And it's going to be really intriguing. And so if Yorktown continues to push and Newcastle continues to improve, we're looking at an absolute epic sectional game. We're looking at an absolute monster state championship, because we're talking about a bunch of teams that are all going up. We talk about it every week. What a great flipping state for volleyball.
Yeah. Top 4 teams, 4 total losses.
Kind of a lesser week for a competition, but I tell you what, there's a lot of neat stuff bubbling under the surface, and so I'm excited how this thing finishes. Hopefully you're excited. Till next week, be good sports fans.